My credentials, which I get asked about all the time when I make posts about real estate. And I wanted to make this video for YouTube so I could just guide people to YouTube and tell them my background and my credentials. 1970, I was born. I'm 50 years old right now. 1974, my father started selling real estate in Colorado Springs and Black Forest, Colorado. Started hanging out at his office when I was about 12. I rode the city bus from my school to his office and ended up hanging out at his office a couple hours every day. I was always asking what certain words were, like amortization schedule, escrow, and things like that. I learned a lot at a very young age about real estate contracts, and sales in general. Um, I was 15 years old, 1985, on my little motorcycle up near Cripple Creek, Colorado. I found this piece of land. It had an old rusty sign on it, and had the guy's address and his phone number. And I remember the long distance call was something I'd asked my parents if I could make a long distance call. Ended up calling the old man and asking him if he would sell the land. And I basically, at 15 years old, negotiated an owner carry. I paid him $500 down and $100 a month. This was in 1985, and I bought that piece of land. My goal was to build a cabin on it. I always wanted to build things. I was always building tree houses. I grew up in Black Forest, Colorado, and I was always building something. And I wanted to build a cabin on this land. My father said, "You know, you're only 15. You're not going to build a piece of land. You're not going to build a cabin for some years." And he said, put a for sale sign up and just see what you can do. 2 years later, I got 3 times what I paid for it, sold the land, got 3 times. And my father took that money and helped me. This was back in the day when you could get a loan with a pulse and 30% down at a bank called World Savings. And he helped me buy a house in Colorado Springs. Had 2 little old ladies living in it. They rented it from me for an additional 2 years. This entire time I was going to pilot school, and ended up selling that house for, and I don't remember the numbers, but $55,000 more than I paid for it. And I basically turned that money, and my father owned rental houses since I think 1977, and he would send me in there to replace water heaters, fix faucets, do whatever. And I was very mechanical. As you can see behind me is an airplane that the engine compartment is off, and I like to work on things. I'm very mechanical. And my father said, you ought to flip houses, because you just have a knack for fixing things and understanding how they work. So I started flipping houses. I took that $55,000 and basically turned it. And again, this is back in the day when you could get a mortgage with a pulse and 30% down. And I bought houses, I sold houses, I constantly flipped houses. And of course, this is since I think 1989. Basically, I started flipping houses all through pilot school. Never became a commercial pilot because it would have gotten in the way of my real estate investing. I bought land with intentions of building a home, and that was my goal, to build my own home. I bought a piece of land in Perry Park, Colorado. It was just a dream place that I had always wanted to live. I forget what year I bought that, but it took me quite a few years to make the land buildable, because I paid $20,000 for the land and just kind of sat on it. It was in an area with central water and sewer, and this is Perry Park subdivision west of Larkspur, if anybody knows. But this was a piece of land that was not buildable. It was a couple hundred feet from the water and sewer line, but it was not, you could not tap onto that water and sewer line. It took me some years. I traded an airplane back and forth with an attorney, a real estate attorney, who gave me a lot of knowledge and wrote a lot of letters and helped me out. I basically changed the master plan. So this land that I had was not buildable because the water and sewer was supposed to come from another direction that was about 1.5 miles away, as opposed to the 200 feet away. It made no sense that I couldn't tap onto that line 200 feet away. Back and forth, didn't make any friends over the years, and I ended up changing the master plan and making it so this lot, as well as 4 other lots around me, could tap onto this sewer and water line 200 feet away. The water board tried to make the project very expensive for me. They made me two water plugs. They made me supply these other 4 lots with valves. They made it a very expensive project for me. $90,000 is what this project cost me to make my one piece of land buildable with water and sewer. I knew this was happening, so I bought all the land around me. Those people didn't think it'd be buildable, but they didn't know that this project was happening. Ended up making this lot buildable. Ended up building what I thought was my dream home at the time, designed by a 33-year-old man. I had flipped enough houses, I actually paid cash for it. I swung the hammer myself. I dug the hole. I rented the forms for the foundation. I tied the rebar. Engineer oversaw everything that I did. I did all the electrical. I did all the plumbing. I knew pretty well how to do all that stuff, but it was a learning experience in itself because I had actual inspections that came out, and inspectors told me what I needed to fix and this and that. I got a lot of knowledge off of that house, but I've also flipped, I think, 35 houses myself. I have dissected a home from the 1920s and every decade to the current. And this has helped me know the building processes. So how did they frame roofs back then? How did they do foundations back then? How did they do plumbing back then? So knowing every decade and all of the eras of how they built homes has been so important to my real estate career. And it has helped me so much flipping all of those houses. I've helped countless clients flip homes. I don't know how many homes I've helped people flip, but they rely on me to help them buy the home as a real estate agent, and then to guide them and even swing the hammer and help them do things to flip these homes. So that is part of my background, and that's how I got started. That's how I claim to be a real estate expert, because I've literally done everything. And that back to that Perry Park subdivision, where I built my first home. Like I said, I own the home free and clear because I swung the hammer myself, did everything. But the fights that I went through to make the land buildable were just ridiculous. And I cussed people out. I made enemies. I made enemies of the water board, the engineers. I didn't make any friends. And I think probably 2006, I built the home in 2003, and after all of those fights, about 2006, and to this day, I am the head of the Perry Park Architectural Control Committee. And I think they saw my knowledge, and they're like, this guy, we've had to fight him, but he actually doesn't know what he's doing here. So they made me the head Architectural Control Committee, and I haven't lived there in 7 years. I think I moved away from Perry Park 7 years. I have now built a home in Evergreen. And I built that from scratch too, and did everything but the foundation and the sheetrock myself. Did the well, the septic. I have helped friends build homes, or clients, but they've become friends. So I have helped clients build homes from scratch. I've actually helped them frame the homes. I have done everything. I've built septics. I've built wells. I've just absolutely everything. Radiant heat, forced air heat. I can tell you inside and out what these things cost when you're building a home. And when you're selling a home, it's important to know if it's 2x4 or 2x-frame built. And that's exterior framing. And this could increase the cost of the home like 5 or 10% if it's 2x6 frame as opposed to 2x4 frame. There are some radiant heat systems like the one I put in our house is worth about $100,000. And just the heating system alone. And this is all value that should be considered when you sell your home or even buy a home. And these are things that I think every realtor should know. And they just don't. And I brag about this stuff online. I make a lot of people mad, but it's typically realtors that I'm making mad. I brag about being an expert of knowing zoning, changing the usage. There are some houses that I bought that were commercial zoned, and they were very cheap because they were commercial zoned and the taxes were so high, and I turned them into single family homes, and I actually changed the usage. And this is a trick that realtors just don't know. And the property taxes went down by about a fifth on one example I can give. But I took this little home Downing Street near Wash Park, just south of Wash Park, and it was zoned commercial, and I put a kitchen in it. It was a chiropractor's office. I put a kitchen in it, my wife and I did, and we changed the usage. and the house would have been very difficult to sell when the taxes were $6,000 a year. After I changed the usage, the taxes went down to $1,200 a year. But it's still zoned commercial. I didn't change the zoning. So this is one of the tricks that I know of real estate that I tell people, ask me questions, ask me anything about real estate. Another thing is people ask me about foreclosures. Where do you find a foreclosure? And I have found countless foreclosures. You can contact bankruptcy attorneys for one, because they know people who are behind on their mortgages. Now, when you're behind on your mortgage, you haven't foreclosed. The public trustee's office may have record of it, but you haven't foreclosed. And one of my tricks that I really hate giving away, but if you care to watch this video, I'll give you this trick. So you can find people who are behind on their mortgages, and you can actually knock on a door, and that's the best thing to do. And talk to them, and there's ways. Now, I guess I have to give an example. A person was behind 9 months on their mortgage payments, and they were given to me through a client. But I talked to them, and I told them, I said, I can help you out here quite a bit. And there's 4 ways I can help you out. One of which is we could just sell the house. 2 is I could actually take over the payments, and I'll give you a certain amount of money, X amount of dollars. This one happened to be $85,000 that I gave this this person, because I calculated what I could sell the house for, what I'd buy it for, and everything, and fix it up, of course. But anyhow, this person was 9 months behind. I ended up agreeing with him to quitclaim the property to me, so the loan still was in his name. He quitclaimed the property to me, and I gave him an X amount of dollars when he quitclaimed the property to me. I gave him another 30 days to get out. Once he got out, turned over possession, I gave him the remainder of the money and took over the payments, caught up all the back payments, caught up all back HOA payments, which fixed his credit pretty much immediately. I negotiated with the bank. He had to sign a third-party agreement with the bank so I could talk to the bank about the loan that he had. And this is one of the ways that I take over foreclosures before they even hit the market, before the foreclosure even is noticed by the public trustee or a bank or even a bankruptcy attorney. So it's actually very simple to do, and I give that to my clients. I guess I'm giving that to everybody watching this video. But you want to know my background. You want to know how I know these things. And I've sold land in Colorado for 30 whatever years. And I know where the wells suffer. I know what homes not to buy. I know about septics. I know about homes that have septics too close, but they're grandfathered in because they were built in the 1950s. And I could go on about this video, but basically that's my background. I got started at a very young age. I negotiated a owner-carry contract, and that's how the history got started. And I don't have a degree, and there's really no degree that would justify something of what I know. You'd have to, I don't have many separate degrees, but I've dealt with zoning. I've dealt with, of course, all kinds of water and sewer projects and building projects, everything. So there's really nothing I haven't dealt with in my years. I really enjoy talking real estate, which is why I make these posts. And I know that there's a lot of trolls out there that will mock me and, say, well, what's your credentials, and this and that. And I tell them, a new doctor that became a doctor last year has the credentials, but what does that mean? It means nothing until they have the experience. You want a doctor that's had experience is what you want. You just don't want somebody with the credentials. So mine is kind of the opposite. I don't have the credentials because there are no credentials for what I have, but I have the experience. And, it's very easy for me to answer these questions off the top of my head because I've done it, and a lot of the questions the first thing I say in my answer is been there. And I have literally been there with all of these situations. I haven't had really anybody ask me a question of something that I don't know what you're talking about. It hasn't happened yet. So I hope you find this video my credential. So this is my background. I've done it all my life. So behind me is an airplane that I'm working on just for fun. And I often tell people, if you were to get in an airplane and you had a good friend that was a pilot and they say, oh, I got my license last year, you would say, I want to fly on an airplane with somebody with experience. So kind of a lot of real estate agents got their licenses recently. When I got started, I think there were 2,000 licensed real estate agents in Colorado. Now there's over 50,000. Everybody has a friend, everybody has a relative with a real estate license, and you simply wouldn't get on an airplane with somebody that got their pilot's license last year. So why would you make the biggest investment of your life with somebody that got their license last year? And the reason you would do that is because you really don't know the knowledge that's out there. You really don't know that there's somebody like me that's out there that will walk through a home with you and tell you that's a load-bearing wall, or that that's not, or it's going to cost this much to tear it out, or you can change the electrical this way and that way. I can walk through these homes and virtually eliminate the inspector. And why would you walk through a home when you have to pay $500 for an inspector? Tell you what, a real estate agent could tell you right there in the front door. So these are my credentials, and this is my experience, and I hope I find this useful, or you find this useful, and challenge me with any real estate questions you have, please. Call me, put me on the spot so you know I'm not Googling something. I don't think a lot of these questions could be answered by Google. They're too mountain home specific. But yeah, when you're buying and selling a piece of real estate, you don't realize what kind of experience you can get from somebody. And I've had countless homes that I have listed where I'll walk into the kitchen and say, well, this old fluorescent lighting needs to be changed out. And I've done it hundreds of times. So I change out the old fluorescent lighting, put can lights in, and update the kitchen lighting, brighten up the kitchen, and it makes the kitchen that much better. And of course, we all know that kitchen and master bedroom, bathroom are where you should put the money in your home. And if you can easily update a room like I can, and I do this at no cost for my clients quite often, and I'm not afraid to pick up a paintbrush and paint the trim, on a listing or something like that. And no other real estate agent will do that. I see a lot of real estate agents posting, I need a painter, for one of my clients and this and that. Part of the reason is they're bragging, that they're a real estate agent. They want you to see that. But the thing you need to notice is, why aren't you willing to do it yourself? And if I'm collecting, a commission on a home, I actually earn it. So I'm actually willing to fix things on the inspection, and I just do it myself because I don't want to wait for a plumber or electrician or whatever, and it's very simple for me to do that stuff myself. And it costs my clients nothing for me to fix these items. And these are things that I try to get out about my real estate profession, and it's just so simple. But changing the value of a home and updating a home, and like I said, I've flipped so many homes over the years that I know what sells, I know what doesn't, and I know the cheap fixes. I can spot cheap fixes very easily, and I know how to make a home look very valuable and very easily, because I've just done it for years. So yeah, I make these posts, and people want to know what my background is, what my credentials are. Well, there you go. And lots of experience basically is all I can say. I don't have any fancy degrees sitting on a wall, but I have been there, I have done that, and I really enjoy these conversations, and I enjoy going back and forth with people, and I love to talk real estate, and I love to talk airplanes. So any question I will answer, and feel free to call me and put me on the spot. And I love to talk, and even if you're not going to deal with me as a real estate agent, please ask me the questions, hit me with it. So I hope this video is helpful, and thank you for watching.